Hi, we all know that reading is a competitive advantage and that readers are leaders, but we might not have time to read as much as we want to. I'm Professor Rayce Rollins, so every week I'll be going over one of the top books I've read in 2017 just to help you curate and navigate and select the best book possible. Today we'll be going over How to Measure Your Life by Professor Clayton Christensen. Now, Professor Clayton Christensen is one of the most admired and most respected academics in all of business management and strategy today. He wrote a book a couple years ago called The Innovator's Dilemma. It's an absolute classic, so I jumped at the opportunity when he wrote this book called How to Measure Your Life. And what he does is he offers us theories to help us live happier and more successful lives and to help us have more successful careers. Now, what is a theory? A theory is a general statement that explains to you what causes what and why. The reason why theories are so important is because it helps you jump the learning curve. Imagine if you could only learn things by experience. You would waste a lot of time, you would waste a lot of money and effort because you could only learn by experience. What theories do is they help you sort of synthesize information to make better decisions even though you haven't lived through those experiences. So he gives us a plethora of theories to help us live more successful lives. I'm just going to go highlight 3, but please buy the book. It is a must read. Now, the first theory that I wanted to share with you that really resonated me from the book was a theory on what motivates people, what gets people to tick. The reason why this is important is because you have to understand what really motivates you, and you want to be able to identify what motivates other people so that you can help them get to the next level. Now, Christensen outlines that there are 2 prevailing theories on motivation that exist today. The first and most common one is called the agency theory. Now, the agency theory proposes that people act in accordance to their financial incentives. So, if you want somebody to execute on a certain behavior, all you have to do is tie their compensation and reward the behaviors financially that you want them to execute on. Now, the reason why that is not a sufficient theory is because there are so many examples out there that really debunk or serve as abnormalities to that theory. For example, you can look at our churches and our synagogues and so many nonprofits where people do not rake in a lot of money, but they go in and they serve their respective organizations with a lot of passion. You also have the military. The military does not incentivize people financially, but you have people who are willing to lay down their lives. So there has to be another theory that can better explain why people are motivated. Christensen proposes some research that was done by Frederick Hitzberg. And Frederick Hitzberg says that there is a 2-factor theory when it comes to engagement and motivation. The 2 factors are these. The first one is called hygiene factors, and hygiene factors are referred to as factors such as your compensation or how much money you make, your sense of job security, do you feel like you're safe at your job, and the general working conditions and the policies. When it comes to hygiene factors, companies really want to make sure that they're fair and consistent across the organization, right? Because hygiene factors, according to Hitzberg, cannot motivate you, but they can demotivate you. They can take all the wind out of your sails and make you not want to continue working at that organization. But the other factor, in addition to hygiene factors, you have something called motivating factors. And motivating factors are transcendent of these tangible things. They are things like job recognition. Does your boss actually recognize when you make a meaningful contribution to the team? That's important. That's something that can really motivate you. Are you challenged at work? Are you going into work and you're getting stretched and learning new skills? Do you have a sense of responsibility or a sense of purpose that you can readily identify? You want to be able to identify that stuff in you. I think Christensen really drives home this point, and it was my favorite point in the whole entire book. Now, the second point that I really want to highlight that resonated with me is the point that he brought home on having the importance of planning, but also leaving room for serendipity. He explains it like this. Every single one of us must have something called a deliberate strategy. Now, a strategy is a course of action that dictates how you are going to spend your time, your money, and your effort to achieve a certain goal. All of us need to have a very explicit strategy that we can identify and articulate clearly. However, As you're going on executing that strategy, life happens. So you need to be flexible. You need to be able to identify the unanticipated opportunities that present themselves or that will present themselves in your life. And you have to be able to do emergent strategy. And an emergent strategy is what you do in terms of pivoting, iterating, and changing based on new revelations that you receive in life. And we all go through them and we all have them. Christensen goes through his life and gives us an example of how he wanted to be the editor of the Wall Street Journal, but they never called him back. So what he did was he pivoted and then put himself in a position to learn a little bit more about business. He co-founded a company that actually went public, and then he was fired from that company, and he wanted to really do much more research, and they called him to teach at Harvard University because he thought that would build up his profile to ultimately get to be the editor of the Wall Street Journal. And so many twists and turns in his life, something that we can all relate to. But his point here is that you have to remain flexible and always look for unanticipated opportunities. Last but not least, the third highlight of the book that I really think is powerful is the theory of purpose. Now, we all know that purpose or having a purpose is important. Purpose-driven decision-making is something that's really in vogue. But how do you define purpose? In the book, Christensen says that purpose is built on 3 cinder blocks. The first one is liking. Just like a painter would carve out a likeness in pencil before they started to paint with oils, each one of us have to have an image in mind of who we want to be. And we have to be able to work towards that vision and work towards that image. The second thing that purpose is built on are our commitments. What are your hard lines? What are the things that you will never sacrifice? For example, it might be dinner at home with the family. It might be a Shabbat dinner. It might be your work ethic or certain rules on your integrity. But you want to be able to nail down what are the things that are unmovable. For Christensen, he says that he would never play a basketball game on Sunday because Sunday was reserved for church. His commitments actually built his character and actually gave him a sense of purpose. And the last thing is the metric. What is going to be the central metric to help you keep score and measure to make sure that you're on the right track in your life? For me, as a college professor, I really want to connect graduating students to internships and jobs so that they can dive straight into their careers. It's something that I really am passionate about. That's why I try to write as many letters of recommendation that I can and make as many connections as I can in the job field, because I'm really passionate about helping people transcend college and make that next step from college and go on into their professional careers. I want to be a springboard for them to do that, and I want to prepare them for the marketplace and help them be entrepreneurial and help them really succeed in life. So that's my metric. What's your metric? What do you do to really keep score to make sure that you are living a purpose-driven life? So this book has so many different theories that he's proposing. I just highlighted 3. You want to get this book, How to Measure Your Life by Professor Clayton Christensen. You will not be disappointed. I'll talk to you next time.